All right, guys. Hey, this is current events, and I am digging into this one. Now, as some of you all have may been aware of, there's this trial going on in Texas about a 7-year-old boy that is embroiled between um, a messy divorce and custody battle. Um, on one hand, you have and it's not just him; it's him and his brother. So he's got a twin brother. Um, so hold on, let me see. We're gonna go through 3 articles. So I've got one that is right leaning. I believe this one. We've got one that is left leaning from the Daily Beast, right leaning from the Federalist, and then we've got a quote unquote neutral NBC News. So we'll go through all of them, look at the slants of all of them. Shouldn't be too long, and then I'll give my opinion at the end. Okay, so let's take a look here. Let's start with the neutral. No, let's end on the neutral. How about that? So let's start out with the right leaning, conservative leaning. All right. The Texas court gives a 7-year-old boy a reprieve from transgender treatments. Word here, the mother no longer has unfettered authority to manipulate her 7-year-old boy into gender transition. Instead, both mother and father will share equally in decision making for him and his twin brother. So this ain't just, the little boy, it's, his brother and stuff like that. So this can have a wider spread implications. And this is written by Walt Hayer, October 25th, so yesterday. In a closely watched Dallas, Texas child custody case, Judge Kim Cooks put aside the disappointing jury's verdict of Monday against the father and ruled Thursday that Jeffrey Younger now has equal joint conservatorship with the mother, Dr. Ann Gorgulis, of their twin boys. The mother no longer has unfettered authority to manipulate her 7-year-old boy into gender transition. Instead, they will both share equally in medical, psychological, and other decision making for the boys, as it should. Additionally, the judge changed the custody terms to give Younger an equal amount of visitation time with his sons, something that had been severely limited up until that point. This week has been tumultuous for Younger. He has requested that a jury grant him sole custody. On October 21st, the day of the jury's decision, Younger told me the jury voted 11-1 that while yes, the boy should have a sole main conservatory, they didn't agree that it should be him. Damn. The public outcry and nationwide media attention were significant. Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott announced that state child protection agencies would investigate, and Texas Senator Ted Cruz encouraged Texas lawmakers to act to keep children from being given surgeries and hormones to make them appear more as the opposite sex. A boy, his mother wants to be a girl. I first became involved with little James' situation in 2018 when I met his father at the conference in Texas. I immediately felt a connection because I was just a boy when the seed of gender distress was planted in my young psyche by an adult family member who cross-dressed me and affirmed how good I looked. Wow. Now in my 70s, I have the benefit of hindsight to know how badly this can play out. With years lost in transgender mixmaster, I've written 2 articles to raise awareness about Younger's situation here and here. So this author's actually had firsthand, and this is on the right, has had firsthand experience with something like this. For those who need a little background, here's a recap. 6-year-old James is caught in a gender identity nightmare. Under his mom's care in Dallas, Texas, James obediently lives as a trans girl named Luna. But given the choice, when he's with his dad, he's all boy, his sex from contraception. In their divorce proceedings, the mother has charged the father with child abuse for not affirming James as transgender, has sought restraining orders against him, and is seeking to terminate his parental rights. She is also seeking to require him to pay for the child's visit to transgender affirming therapists and transgender medical alterations, which may include hormonal sterilization starting at age 8. All the evidence points to a boy torn between pleasing two parents, not an overwhelming preference to be a girl. What happened when I met James? I visited Younger in Texas a year ago when I met his sons James and his fraternal twin brother. The 2-hour court-ordained visitation time we shared was casual, held as occasionally is at the home of a close family friend or their children. I took the opportunity to jump in the car with Younger as he drove across the town to pick up the boys at his ex-wife's home. As we pulled up, the front door opened, the two young boys came flying out. James was dressed as a boy like his brother. Into the back seat they went, saying hi to their dad and to me before they started talking about Ninja Turtles and other things they had done at school. Not one smidgen of gender dysphoria or girl talk appeared during the drive or subsequent playtime and dinner. This week, I asked Younger how his sons were doing. Younger says James' fraternal twin brother is confused and tells everyone he wants to live with his dad. As to James, on the recent visitation with his father, James dressed himself as a classy young man with creased pants and a necktie all day and chose to stay dressed that way to go back to his mother. It seemed to be a powerful nonverbal way for James to defy his mother's wishes. Experts agree James needs protection. Younger said at the trial he was painted as paranoid and in need of several years of psychotherapy because he doesn't believe his young son wants to be a girl, but many experts agree with transgendering young children is hazardous. At the trial, Younger's expert witness testified about the dangers and provided some supporting evidence. Dr. Stephen Levine, a psychiatrist renowned for his work on human sexuality, testified that social transition, treating them as the opposite sex, increases the chance that a child will remain gender dysphoric. Dr. Paul W. H. Ruse, a pediatric endocrinologist and professor of pediatrics and cellular biology at Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis, testified that the risk of social transition are so great that the treatment cannot be recommended at all. Are these doctors paranoid too? Disagreement based on scientific evidence is now considered paranoia requiring thought reprogramming. That's scary stuff when enforced by the court. The research is still wide open on this. Why is it risky to treat a boy like a girl? We'll just skip down. So here's the crux of the argument against this. The first step, social transitioning as the mother has done to James, carries many risks. One that has become self-fulfilling. Parent Resource Guide Responding to Transgender Issues, a collaboration between organizations with very diverse political opinions, says, when children socially transition, studies show they are less likely to become comfortable with their biological sex and end up on a fast-moving conveyor belt towards hormones and surgery. On the other hand, scientific and clinical evidence collected over decades by neutral clinicians shows that if not affirmed and allowed to go through natural puberty, as many as 98% of gender-confused boys and 88% of gender-confused girls eventually accept their biological sex. In other words, going through puberty is the ultimate cure for the majority of children with gender confusion. Social and medical transitions are not. Blocking puberty with drugs also seems to lock children into their gender confusion, not resolving it. The next step in the transition for children is administering drugs to suppress puberty suppression, which can start as early as age 8. That's why Younger fought so hard to have the surgery and the medical decisions for James. The full effect of these drugs, emotionally, neurologically, and physically, when given to healthy children, has not been studied. That's right. This use is experimental and not Food and Drug Administration approved. The drugs have an approved medical purpose to delay puberty for children who started too young and then resume puberty at a more appropriate age. People who took them as children show evidence of neurological and bodily harm as adults, lower IQ, increased depression symptoms, harm to bone development. Blocking puberty with drugs also seems to lock children into their gender confusion, not resolving it. Data shows that as many as 100% of gender-confused children who use puberty blockers go on to take cross-sex hormones. That's alarming because we'd expect at least some children to get comfortable in their bodies, but most children take puberty blockers, continue a path to hormonal and surgical transition. That means they will be left infertile and permanently, irrevocably sterile. And these are decisions that are being made at ages of 7 and 8. This rolls down. They're saying this pretty much the author met this person, doesn't think the father needs therapy. The jury 11-1 vote to keep a sole managing conservatorship from the father shows how evasive and acceptable this idea has become and how our society's changed. And yeah, so just a little thing about the author. Walt Hayer is an accomplished author and public speaker with a passion for mentoring individuals whose lives have been torn apart by unnecessary gender change surgery. All right, so that is the right-leaning article. I'll give my opinion at the end of going over this. Let's see here. Now, this is the left-leaning article. How the right weaponized a 7-year-old trans child. An outcry from a judge just ruled Luna Younger will have to split her time between two parents, one who believes she's a girl and one who believes she's a boy. Reported by Kelly Whale. And this was updated yesterday, but written the day before. A transgender Texan child will live in joint custody with her two divorced parents, one who believes she's a girl and one who believes she's a boy, a judge ruled Thursday. On its face, Thursday's court ruling between Texan exes Jeffrey Younger and Ann Gorgolis is the last step in the child custody battle, but Younger and Gorgolis' legal fight over one of their children has made the case a rallying point for conservatives, and Thursday's decision comes after a slew of prominent politicians waded into the case and picked sides. Gorgolis, who was awarded sole custody earlier this month, says her 7-year-old daughter Luna is transgender. Younger, who appealed in the ruling and won a surprise victory Thursday, says the child is not transgender and is a male named James. Although the Thursday ruling only dictated who got custody, and a say in the child's medical decision is widely seen as a win for conservative media and politicians who framed the case as a debate over how or if children can come out as transgender. Luna was assigned male at birth, but it began indicating an interest in identifying as a girl when she was as young as 3, her father claims. Again, don't get confused. Luna and James are essentially the same person. Again, the first one had a slant to the male side, conservative side. This is a more of a left-leaning side, the author, and that's why she's referring to James as a girl or Luna as a boy in the other one. 3 mental health professionals who evaluated Luna diagnosed her with gender dysphoria, condition in which a person's assigned sex at birth does not match their gender identity. 3 professionals. In 2018 ruling, a judge ordered both parents to treat Luna in a manner consistent with how she previously identified in school, whether she went by Luna and identified as a girl. For this reason, the Daily Beast is referring to Luna with she/her pronouns, even though she identified otherwise in other media. Neither Younger nor representative for Gorgolis returned a request for comment on Thursday. So this person wasn't actually able to speak to the either parent. The previous person was able to speak to the father. Younger and Gorgolis separated in 2015. In a marriage annulment proceedings, court awarded Gorgolis more than $45,000 in damages for a truck Younger fraudulently purchased in her name through her company. So it sounds like there's some more going on here than just this. Again, sorry, let me keep my opinion to myself. Gorgolis also accused Younger of fabricating his background before they married. So he a lie, huh? Stop. chill, man. Chill. Okay. Before Gogulis married him, she said Younger told her he had been married once and had a significant career in the Marines and served in Iraq, was a professor and had made six figures income for decades before Fortune 500 companies. In fact, he had been married twice, did not have a college degree, and was briefly a Marine before being removed and only earned six figures once in 2000. A court annulled their marriage in 2016, but even before the formal split, the pair was divided over how to treat their child. Although Luna's twin brother continued to identify as a male, Luna began indicating a preference for girl clothes and identifying with female characters as early as third birthday, Younger claimed on his blog. Gorgulis had Luna evaluated by 3 mental health professionals who diagnosed her with a gender dysphoria, the Texan reported. One of those therapists advised Gorgulis on gender affirmation practices. They would not medically intervene with Luna, but would allow her to dress and otherwise identify as a girl. She went by Luna in school, where she presented as female, according to the court records. This kind of non-medical transition is typical for children, said Casey Pick, Senior Fellow of Advocacy in Government Affairs for the Trevor Project, a crisis intervention organization for LGBTQ young people. For children in this age, experiencing gender dysphoria, parents typically work together with mental health professionals to facilitate the social transition, which can include things like a change in hairstyle and or clothing, use of different names, pronouns, and other socially affirmed gender identities, Pick told Daily Beast. But Younger insisted Luna was not transgender and continued to refer to her as James. He launched a website, Save James, where he argued Gorgulis had fabricated Luna's gender identity. The site currently solicits donations and accuses Gorgulis of abusing their child. Gorgulis previously accused Younger of domestic violence, which he was acquitted in 2018. Younger uploaded videos of Luna in boys' clothes and stated that the child presented a boy while visiting Younger's house. Those visits became increasingly charged. Parents were split on longer-lasting decisions like whether to cut Luna's hair. A judge ruled she maintained a haircut that was reasonable for a boy or girl, but Gorgulis accused Younger of repeatedly cutting it during short visits. On the website, Younger claims not to be against transgender people, but language across the site repeatedly borrows anti-trans tropes. He wrote that he opposes irreversible hormone treatments. A dossier on the case available on his website refers to the crazy transgender world, and he repeatedly refers to gender affirming treatments as chemical castration. As experts told the Washington Post, transgender children can take hormone blockers during puberty, although these are not irreversible. Rather than practicing gender affirming behavior now, Younger said he preferred the tactic of watchful waiting, which social work professor Catherine Kuvalanka told the Post was outdated and could actively be harmful if a parent did not accept the child's gender identity. As the custody moved toward the trial earlier this year, it featured increasingly conservative media, which portrayed the case LGBT rights ran amok. Some of the media fallout targeted Gorgulis, conservative blogs, social media users accused her of wanting to mutilate her child, a common allegation in anti-trans circles. A Facebook group with a graphically violent name circulated what they claimed was Gorgulis' address and phone number, urged people to leave negative reviews for her office where she works as a pediatrician. Stories involving transgender children can sometimes be used to present transgender people as risks to others. Pick said, "We should never forget that these stories, much of them often framed as part of a broader cultural war, are ultimately about individuals and families who are trying to do the best they can," she said. There's no reason to doubt both Luna's parents love her very much. That said, too often we see transgender children framed by anti-transgender advocates as a threat to other children or society. When that happens, it is a negative effect on the self-worth and the health of LGBTQ youth across the country. Earlier this week, 11:01 on the conservatorship. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who has a history of transgender discriminatory legislation, tweeted the case is being looked into by the Texas Attorney General's office and the Texas Department of Family Protective Services. #James Younger. That was a tweet by the governor. Following Abbott's tweet, General Ken Paxton's office got involved. BuzzFeed News first reported office sent a letter to the Texas Department of Services asking the agency to open an investigation of possible child abuse against the 7-year-old James Younger, whose mother was proposed to chemically and surgically altering his biological sex based on her belief that he may identify as a girl. The letter asked that DFPS to protect the boy in question from permanent and potential irreversible harm by his mother. Senator Ted Cruz tweeted, "This case was horrifying and tragic. For a parent to subject such a young child to life-altering hormone blockers to medically transition to sex is nothing less than child abuse." In the follow-up tweet, he claimed the child was a pawn in a left-wing political agenda. Rep. Dan Crenshaw also voiced his support for Younger, claiming the 7-year-old couldn't understand the decision to accept gender-affirming treatment, and that was the case was heartbreaking, sets a horrible precedent. After outcry of conservatives, Texas judge on Thursday overturned the jury's decision and awarded both parents joint custody, giving Younger a say in the medical decisions. The ruling came with a gag order for both parents, prohibiting both from speaking about the case, which will mean Younger shuttering his website. The heated language around the case can be damaging to transgender people. Pick noted, "It is unfortunate to see the situation being politicized rather than focusing on what the child's best interests," she said. The Trevor Project recently released a national survey on LGBTQ youth mental health found 76% of LGBTQ youth felt that the recent political climate impacted their mental health and sense of self, and their lives as transgender youth are sensationalized and treated like political football, and the reality of their personal struggles and need lost in the shuffle. So, that is, I think it would be redundant to go over this, so I think we'll just go into my opinion on this. So, my opinion. I think it's very well. Let's just keep it real. I honestly believe, that a child doesn't understand the implications of their decisions. Go back to, and you know, let's look at it. Let's not get upset. Let's look at this for what it is. Think about back when you were 7 or 8 years old. There was many things that you wanted to do as a child that seemed cool to you, or seemed all right to you, or you were pushed in a certain direction to do certain things, and you wanted to do them. You would ask your parents, "Hey, I want to have dessert for breakfast," or "I wanted to have dessert for dinner." Your parents would tell you no. "I want to go out and play." "Did you finish your homework?"
Oh my God.
"No." "Then go do your homework first, and then you can go out and play." I know I'm simplifying this, but it really is that simple. You don't irreversibly mess with the chemical and biological makeup of a child, boy or girl, at such a young age. That is a decision that they need to make when they are 18, legally an adult. Now, unfortunately, that's okay, let me not be so PC, okay? Any person that listens to their child about being wanting to change their gender and putting them on hormone blockers and gearing them up to have a irreversible surgery needs they ass whooped. Children don't know what they're talking about. Children don't know what they're doing. Children don't know what they want. Now, yes, there are some exceptions to every rule. There are some children that know exactly what they're doing, know exactly what they want. But you don't listen to a child saying he wants to be a girl on 50% of the time, or 40% of the time, or 60% of the time, and say, all right, he wants to be a girl, let's go ahead and chemically castrate him, let's make him sterile, let's give him some female hormones so he starts feeling like a girl, and his whole brain chemistry gets all fucked up. You don't do that to a child. You don't listen to a child. You're the parent. You are supposed to protect that child inside and out. I don't care what type of bad relationship you've had with the father. If he lied to you, or if he did this or he did that, you don't ever take that out on a child. And the mere fact you're a pediatrician, this Gorgulis chick, you're a pediatrician. You're supposed to do no harm. Okay, this is harmful. I just don't know what type of world we're living in right now. I don't know what type of world we're living in where some people think this is okay. So you're telling me that you have to be 18 to smoke a cigarette or vape. You got to be 21 to take a drink. But you could be 7 years old and make a life-altering decision like that. And your parents or your mother doesn't love and care about you enough to know that that's not it. That's too big of a decision to make. What happens when he goes ahead and gets his chemical castration and gets all these hormones, starts feeling all in his feminine, and those hormones are a trip. He wakes up and is like, and he has an epiphany that this isn't truly what he wanted, or he becomes depressed and kills himself, or a whole bunch of things could have occurred from this. Now, I hear what you're saying. Oh, you can go through that right now. Maybe he wants to be a chick. If you've seen the videos, the boy is just in between. The boy's caught in the worst position a child can be in. Whenever parents get into divorces and custody is split, it is absolutely damaging for a child. So this boy loves his mother. He wants to be with his mother. He loves his father, wants to be with his father. He's caught in the middle. This shouldn't even be a discussion. You don't transition a child, and 7 or 8 year old child. I don't care if it's going to make him look more, feel more like the opposite sex by the time he's 12, 14, 18. If he's going to look more like a girl. He's got to be able to make that decision when he is an adult on his own. Because see, what he's not counting on is that boy hating her in the future, or resenting her in the future. One day he's gonna hit her up, if this actually goes through, gonna hit her up and say, why didn't you protect me? Why would you allow me to do this?
Oh my God.
I didn't know what I was talking about. I wanted to be a dinosaur at 7. I wanted to have dessert for breakfast when I was 7. I wanted to go play outside before I did my homework at 7. I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. I just wanted to make you happy because I know you and Dad were going through a tough time. I didn't want to become a girl. I love women. I didn't want to become one. And then what do you say to that? Let's say he wants to transition back. He can't have children after that point with all those hormones and all that going on in that type of transition. So what? She's robbed him of a natural life. See, if he wants to rob himself of a natural life at 18, he can do that because it's his decision and it's his body. But you don't do that to a child. And in no way, shape, or form is that safe, is that acceptable, or is that correct. this shit is getting out of hand. And I'm here to tell you, no. No. And yeah, like I said, this, I don't even have to belabor this. Everyone knows what it is. Protect the children. That's all we got to say. This is Current Events. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you agree with me, make sure you comment. And if you disagree, make sure you comment as well. If you agree with the author, Kelly of the Daily Beast, go ahead, shout her out. If you agree with the author, Walt at the Federalist, shout him out, okay? I mean, here you go. You got two people, two different opposing positions on this. But all that really matters is the safety of that child, the mental and physical safety of that child. Both of the parents, in my opinion, they're both not winners. I can see why the court didn't want to give the father sole conservatorship over the child. But yeah, no, they both need to figure this out. And I think we all know what the right decision is. Again, Current Events, real talk, real people, forever. Be amazing. And as always, keep it real.